Yo, what is up YouTube? James here, and today we're going to be going over my 3 stream sets from the 2025 Pokemon World Championship. I'm going to be going over them and giving an explanation of my thought process throughout the match. I won't be going over every single turn in depth because that would be a lot. In some cases it's pretty generic, so I will be going over more of the important turns that, like, you might be wondering, like, why I made this play, especially on stream, because let's just say some of the stream matches were a bit rough, but overall I just thought that this would give you some better insight to like why I made the decisions that I made. So we have the first stream set, which is going to be myself versus Naoto Kishida. And if you don't know, Naoto Kishida did actually finish top 16 at this World Championship as well. We played in round 6 of the day 1 at the World Championship. We were both 5-0, so whoever won this one was guaranteed to move on into day 2. So this was a pretty important match, and yeah, we're going to be showcasing the team real quick. I won't be showcasing my team because I do have like videos about it, and I feel like if I just showcase my team, it's like gonna little detract from everything. So if you want to know more about my team, I highly recommend go check out my team builder as well as the main channel video that I have about it, because I do explain my team in there. I'm only really going to be specifically talking about like the matchups and the opponent's team in this video. So if you want to understand more about my team, make sure you go check out those videos, of course, and let me know what you think about this kind of content down below, because it really does help out this channel. But yeah, we have Naoto Kishida's team, and this is his team that he ended up using to place in the top 16. He has a very, very big supportive team of Calyx Shadow Rider, and it's very reliant on setting up this Nasty Plot, Draining Kiss, Terra Fairy, Calyx Shadow, Life Orb, alongside the Violet Clefairy, the double fake out rotation mons with Taunt Insane, which I'm assuming is to help out against a Moongus Spore. We have the good support in the Rillaboom, and then Screens Grimmsnarl with Thunderwave, which is pretty annoying for my team, alongside the standard Zamazenta. So looking at this team, I've had experienced matchups with like Protector Calyx Shadow Rider. I've used this kind of team before, especially with like Rillaboom, Incineroar, Clefairy, and Calyx Shadow Rider, and I know how they generally like to play. I've also had matchups against my team where a lot of the practice that I've done was like against like the Miraidon Calyx Shadow Rider, because usually it was like either Calm Mind or Nasty Plot Calyx Shadow Rider with the Scarf Miraidon usually over Zamazenta. So it's a little bit of a different build than I'm used to, but across the board it pretty much has the same principles of you are setting up your screens or just protecting your Calyx Shadow Rider, utilizing the double fake out and pivoting, going into Clef, and then just really allowing the Calyx Shadow to get multiple turns to set up and then just sweep team. So that's the idea of this team. And my matchup against this team, it's generally fine. There's like a few things that I do have for this matchup specifically. One, Roar Incineroar is pretty nice that I do have here, because if I am able to roar the Calyx Shadow Rider, that basically loses them a lot of momentum, because they have to try to get back Shadow Rider in and then also set up again. In a lot of cases, the Roar Incineroar is going to help out. The only problem is it does have Taunt on this Incineroar, which is a bit more difficult to deal with, so that might not be an option in some cases. But I also do have, of course, my own Calyx Shadow Rider, which is pretty good. And usually on these teams, I usually assume they're slower Calyx Shadow Rider with Modest, because I think it makes more sense to me generally, just because of the fact that you take an Astral Barrage, then you Draining Kiss and get all the recovery back. Also probably investing in a lot of bulk, I'd imagine, plus special attack for the Draining Kiss and the Nasty Plot, so you take advantage of it. So I feel like it generally doesn't rely on speed control other than just like the Thunder Wave on Grimmsnarl. So that was my assumption going into the match, basically, that I feel like I'll probably have the faster Calyx Shadow Rider. And I feel like Volcarona is pretty good in this. I feel like if I just make sure that I can handle the Calyx Shadow Rider with a lot of pressure, then I should be good in this matchup. So that's the thought process that I have going into this matchup. But let us get started and review the match with game 1 right here. So this is going to be game 1. I decide I'm going to try out Incineroar Volcarona lead, because I should be able to get some Quiver Dances up immediately across the board, and it should be generally fine for this matchup. So they lead Incineroar plus Grimmsnarl, a classic Gen 8 lead for the Dynamax fans out there. But yeah, like, I'm not surprised about this lead. It's like fake out, set up screens, Parting Shot, getting Calyx Shadow Rider, yada yada yada. And here I'm like, okay, I could probably set up Volcarona with a bunch of Quiver Dances at least, so that's positive. And I'll be able to go for like a fake out, maybe into the Grim to prevent like a Thunder Wave immediately. If they want to go for a fake out into my own Incineroar, that's fine for the most part. Like, most likely we're just going to trade momentum for maybe a Quiver Dance and a Light Screen, I'd imagine. So I'm generally okay with this. as they fake out my Incineroar and they decide to go for a T-Wave immediately, which kind of stink for me, but I get it because like since I'm setting up multiple turns for Quiver Dances and I need the multiple turns, if I do get paralyzed once, I'm already put in a back foot. So I do go for the Quiver Dance and I'm like, okay, I'm still going to keep dancing because I need the special defense boost for Calyx Shadow Rider. And here I'm going to knock off the Incineroar because I think they're most likely going to go for like Taunt into my Volcarona. But I don't think they're going to go into Shadow Rider immediately. But if they do, like if they Parting Shot because they're the faster Incineroar, my Incineroar moves after, goes for the knockoff into Calyx Shadow, gets rid of Life Orb, and I do a ton of damage. That's a beautiful trade there. So I'm willing to go for that play here because if they stay in with Grimmsnarl plus the Incineroar, they're not really doing too much damage to my team, while Volcarona is just pretty free to set up Quiver Dances or get like pretty heavy chip damage and potentially like Fiery Dance boost as well. So that's the main reason I decide to go for this situation, is because I am basically going to pressure them from switching into Shadow Rider directly, and just by going for this knockoff, it just really helps out here, and they can't really do much damage to my Volcarona because their only attack is knockoff here. So we'll go for our Quiver Dance again and get +2, which is really nice because it does help out again for the situation that I mentioned before. We're setting up for that Shadow Rider as they go for a knockoff to get rid of my leftovers, which is completely fine because they still can't do that much damage to me as I knock off the Incineroar. And now, usually I'm very good at reading the flow of like how they want to position the momentum, and right now I have the momentum, right? I have a boosted Volcarona, I could Quiver Dance again, and they can't really see like why I wouldn't Quiver Dance again. And for me, I'm here like, okay, they gotta start getting into Shadow Rider, because if they just allow me to keep Quiver Dancing, they're just going to be put in such an awful position, because at this rate, even if they get Calyx Shadow in, it might be too late because this Volcarona might be too troublesome to deal with. I also have the Roar Incineroar as well, so it's really tough for them to set up Shadow Rider. I'm like, okay, they probably have to get Shadow Rider in. And I already conditioned where I knocked off their Incineroar on the opponent's side and how I went for the knockoff in that slot. They know that since they have their faster Incineroar, I could keep going for a knockoff in that slot to pressure the Shadow Rider. So I'm going to make aggressive play here and Fiery Dance and knock off the Grimmsnarl, because even if they stay in, it's not a bad trade. I probably two-shot, as the stream actually cut out, as you just saw for a second. I guess internet issues for some reason. But yeah, I did go for the Fiery Dance and the Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl retreated into the Shadow Rider. I didn't get paralyzed, thankfully. Did get the Fiery Dance off into the Calyx Shadow Rider, because I was like, again, I feel like I've conditioned the Incineroar not to go hard in the Shadow Rider. I feel like if they try to get in the Shadow Rider, it's probably through the Grimmsnarl slot in an unexpected point. And I felt like, okay, I think this is probably one of those moments. I'm going to read that flow and just go for it. If I do get this play wrong, it's not even that bad, especially if I get a Fiery Dance boost. But if I get it, I just win the game instantly. And that's exactly what I get here, because they went into Grimmsnarl. I got the Fiery Dance off. They go for Parting Shot on my Volcarona, and they're going to try to bring out Clef because of the fact that I do have Roar on my Incineroar. Like, I knew that this was probably going to be the case here. And I get a knockoff into the Calyx Shadow Rider, and that double up is enough to pick up the knockout. And I was very happy here. So that is pretty much their king, or I guess their queen, checkmated right here, as pretty much they do not have any offense across the board, and I guarantee the win in game one. So was very happy about how I read that flow, and it pretty much worked out perfectly. I pretty much cannot lose. I have way too much offensive presence off the board. I still have terrestrialization. They cannot break through my team. So no matter what I do, I just guarantee the win here. So they forfeit immediately, and I'm like, yes, okay, that is really good. It pretty much went perfectly. Like, not much to say. That game one went perfectly. I was able to catch the Calyx Shadow Rider, and as I said before, if they don't position Calyx Shadow Rider perfectly, they're in a lot of trouble. And I've used that kind of team before several times, and I've also played against that team several times, and I kind of like know when they want to really set up the Shadow Rider and when they want to make the switches like that. So was able to get in the right moment and find the opportunity to strike. So that was perfect. And then we go into game two, and really game two, there was not really much I literally led what I did, and just I didn't reveal any information really. Like, so I was like, okay, there's an adjustments that I was thinking of, and I'm like, okay, do I switch it up or do I change it? And I'm like, since I'm the probably the faster Shadow Rider, I feel like they would probably change the adjustment and maybe go with like Calyx Shadow Rider Incin, which is probably better into my team than the Grimmsnarl Incin. Like, that's what I'm thinking, because then they have the immediate pressure, and then they could actually go for terrestrialization immediately with the Calyx Shadow. So that was my thought process, because if they get terrestrialization, I can't go for like that knockoff pin like I showed before. So I was like, okay, maybe they lead Shadow Rider plus Instant this time, and by doing that I'm able to catch them with maybe my own Incineroar plus my Shadow Rider, and we can nasty plot and I'd be okay there. So that was my thought process. So I'm switching up this game 2 lead here, and I am going to go with my Calyx Shadow and Incineroar. They also switch perspectives, which I don't know why, but sure. Incineroar Grimmsnarl, which is like, it's not that great for me. I'm not a big fan of this, mainly because the Grimmsnarl has Spirit Break, and I'm just not happy about this. So I think turn 1 I decide, hey, you know, I'd rather have Volcarona in, especially because I felt like, oh, they might go for Spirit Break plus knockoff immediately into Calyx, because like they could Thunder Wave, they could Light Screen, and I'm like, okay, I do not want to be forced to Terra this early. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to switch in my Volcarona and try to do something with my Instant here. So I decide, hey, it's probably better to get Volcarona in. But granted, I'm a step behind. I obviously didn't get the Quiver Dances immediately, which kind of stinks here. So I did lose quite a bit of momentum, especially since they just went for Light Screen. So if I just went for like a nasty plot, it would have been fantastic here. But unfortunately, now I'm kind of just down behind in this game, and now it's going to be a lot trickier. So there's not really too much to say about this, as it's just a very difficult turn. I think what I do is, I'm pretty sure I protect the Volcarona. Yeah, I do protect the Volcarona because I don't want to take the T-Wave that I know is probably coming out into that slot, as they did go for the T-Wave. And I think I try to knock off a slot to try and catch the Shadow Rider if they do try to go in, but also, like, you know, get rid of potentially 5 turns of screens. I think I target the Grimmsnarl, but I don't remember if I target the Grimmsnarl or if I target down the Instant slot. I'm pretty sure I target the Grimmsnarl. The main reason I think I target the Grimmsnarl is I feel like they won't, if they Parting Shot here, they're never switching into Shadow Rider, because that's such a big risk. If you get hit by a knockoff from my Incineroar on the Incineroar slot on their side, it's pretty bad here. So I was like pretty confident that they might attempt to go for Taunt or Parting Shot here into my Instant to bring out like maybe Clef here, so that they can then follow me and then go for the Roar. So yeah, like Clefairy comes in, and I do go for the knockoff into the Grimmsnarl, and yeah, I do get rid of the Light Clay, so if they try to reflect later, I mean, it's helpful. But yeah, this is kind of a weird spot because they can always just follow me and go Shadow Rider, and I don't have the best way to punish this. So I think what I do is I go for a Quiver Dance, and I go for Parting Shot here because I want to bait the terrestrialization. I think that's what I decide to go for. Or did I just knock off in case they decide to protect? I think I might have went for knockoff in case they didn't protect, because I also like getting ready to Violet on a Clef. No, I think I did knockoff actually. Yeah, I did knockoff. Next turn is when I went for the Parting Shot. Yeah. So I go for a knockoff because I want to get ready to Violet. And now I'm like, this is still not a great spot for me, but it's like playable. I decide, you know what, I gotta spam Quiver Dances. They're gonna nasty plot and follow me. There's not much I can do here, and I'm just gonna Parting Shot out because I'm gonna go out in a Shadow Rider because I have an idea of what I want to position. So I'm gonna go for Parting Shot, go into Shadow Rider this turn. It was this turn, not last turn. This is the turn that I went for it, as I Quiver Dance again. So now I'm gonna be guaranteed faster than the Shadow Rider, as I do go for the Parting Shot into the Clefairy, and I go to my own Calyx Shadow. The reason I go for this is because then I can go out into Calyx Shadow. I feel like I'm faster, and I threaten the Astral Barrage. I force Terrestrialization, and the idea here is I'm not sure if +2 Fiery Dance will OHKO Clef, because I have no idea if it's Fizdef Clef or Spadef. So I decide I'm going to go out into Instant for my Calyx Shadow Rider and go for a Quiver Dance. And the main reason I decide to go for that is because I'm hoping my Instant lives the Draining Kiss, and then I can go for Fake Out afterward. Or if they go for Astral Barrage, I definitely take it. Then I have Fake Out Pressure. I can KO the Clef, and then maybe I can have a position where I can Fiery Dance clean up against them. But yeah, that's like the idea here. So Instant comes in, and they do go for the Terra Fairy, and I was kind of surprised they went for the Helping Hand Draining Kiss here into the Instant or into the Shadow Rider, but I guess they covered my Instant coming in because they didn't have to follow me here at all. So yeah, they decide to go for that Helping Hand, and I do go for another Quiver Dance because I know +3 will guarantee KO Clef. I do have Koraidon on the back, so I could have relied on the Sun, but of course I'm not switching Koraidon on an Astral Barrage. They do go for the Draining Kiss, and I was actually kind of shocked because I didn't think this actually KO'd my Instant. I was kind of shocked because Draining Kiss is not a strong move. I thought even with the Helping Hand, the Life Orb, and the Terra Fairy boost, I didn't think it would KO, but I was kind of surprised. It was kind of shocking to me. I lose my Instant, and then I'm like, I'm in a lot of trouble. I go Koraidon to set up the Sun so I can guarantee with the Fiery Dance to Oko stuff. But at this point, it's looking pretty bad. They're +3 and they can go for Astral Barrage. There is not much I can really say here. I just got to protect Koraidon. I just got to go for Fiery Dances. Clef is going down and I'm like, okay, this game is probably just going to come down to a potential dodge on a Thunder Wave. Like that's basically what I'm hoping for at this point. Like I'm able to get +4 Volcarona with Sun, so I can Oko to Shadow Rider, but it really is just going to come down to the ability of just being able to dodge a Thunder Wave potentially. As Astral Barrage comes out, it does a ton of damage. I'm like, okay, is there something that I have here? So they're going to go Grim. I think what I decided to do this turn was protect my Volcarona and sack Koraidon at this point, because I think what I decided was like my best odds was actually to get in Shadow Rider. Yeah, I think it was to get in Shadow Rider for free. Yeah, because I want to Volk next to Shadow Rider because Koraidon doesn't do anything at this point in the game. I know Thunder Wave's coming out into Volcarona, and I decided to give myself potentially the best odds here, as Astral Barrage is going to be fired off, KO my Koraidon, but at least I get my Calyx Shadow Rider in, and now I can go for Terra Dark Calyx Shadow Rider. And my idea here was, okay, if there's a potential chance that they go for a Protector with their Calyx, so they get 2 chances to land Thunder Wave onto my Volcarona, because if they miss Thunder Wave, they lose the game. I was like, okay, I'm going to bring in Shadow Rider. I'm going to go for Terra Dark, and I'm going to Nasty Plot, because, again, I'm thinking at this point I have the faster Shadow Rider. If I get a Nasty Plot, if they decide to play passive here, then I think I have a chance. Otherwise, like, I just dodged a Thunder Wave. Like, I think that gives me the best odds to win the game. So that is why I decide, hey, I'm going to go for a Nasty Plot with Terra Dark here in case they go for the Astral Barrage. But I also got to dodge Thunder Wave and the Calyx Shadow Rider just in case they go for it. And I go for a Fiery Dance into... I don't remember. I think I'm pretty sure I targeted Shadow Rider. There was also a chance I did target Grim in case of like a hard aggressive play, but I'm pretty sure I targeted Shadow Rider. But the Thunder Wave does land, and yeah, there's pretty much nothing I can really do at this point. But I find out some really fascinating information is that they are Timid Max Speed Calyx Shadow most likely. So I was very shocked to see that it was Timid Calyx Shadow, because I didn't think the Draining Kiss would KO my Instant. I felt like, oh, if it's modest, that makes sense. It's Timid. And I'm like, wait, what? Because I know it had decent bulk because of the Fiery Dance damage from game 1. So I was like, wow, I was not expecting that. But I do lose game 2. However, I felt like I had the information I needed, right? He's pretty much sticking to this entire plan rotation of going with the Calyx Shadow Rider. It makes sense. He's pretty comfortable with it. But I also do realize that also the fact is that his Calyx Shadow is faster than mine. So I have an adjustment that I can make here that I can play around. Koraidon didn't really do anything, realistically. I brought Koraidon because, of course, it's useful into the Instant specifically, because it's one of my best answers to deal with Instant. But if their only move is knockoff, I don't have to really worry about Instant too much, because I can clear the board later on. So I was like, okay, what's my lead adjustment here? And then I decide, you know what? It's not too bad lead wise if I lead Instant Shadow Rider, and I'm going to commit a Shadow Rider plan, and I'm going to reveal my secret weapon. Like, I had a line that I was pretty comfortable with, expecting what he would bring. And we end up going into this game 3 adjustment where I decide to bring out the Calyx Shadow Rider and Incineroar. So they lead the Incineroar and Shadow Rider, so they switch it up this time, which makes sense. And I do have to get every play right now because they're timid and I know they're bulky. I'm pretty sure I live Draining Kiss from the Calyx Shadow. That's at least what's in my head. I actually still don't know the calc to this day, but I'm like pretty confident that I lived the Draining Kiss with Terra Fairy Life Orb without a boost here, right? So I'm like, okay, I have to make every call against the Shadow Rider right, but if I do, I'm in a good position. So there are a few plays that I have access to where it's like there's the fake out trade and they could just go for Astro Barrage immediately. So I'm just trying to figure out like what am I expecting here, and I decide to make a safe play here, which is switch out my Incineroar into Rillaboom and protect my Shadow Rider, because then I'll have access to fake out the next turn. If they Nasty Plot, it's not the greatest, but they still can't punish me the next turn, which I think is fine for me, because I still have a line even if they decide to go for that. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for a protect with Calyx Shadow Rider, and I'm gonna switch into Rillaboom. So I felt like that was the safest play here, and there wasn't much that they could really do. I decide to do this because I do, again, if they fake out my Incineroar, I want to make sure that I have fake out for the next turn, because the Shadow Rider on their side is most likely always going to Terra, because you can't really risk me going for Astral Barrage, and they don't know I'm max speed, but I know they're max speed most likely. So we're going to see the Calyx Shadow Rider with the Terra Fairy activated. I'm like, okay, that's perfectly fine, as I do protect my Shadow Rider because I'm not forced to Terrasilize yet, and that's pretty good for me. They do decide to fake out easily here, and they decide to go for the Astral Barrage. I'm like, okay, this is super ideal. Like, I got the turn 1 right, and now I'm in a pretty decent spot. So I could play aggressive, or I could make the safe play. I decide I'm just going to make the safe play, just fake out the Calyx Shadow Rider and go for Terra Dark Nasty Plot. There's not really too much to think about. Again, I still think I am able to survive the Draining Kiss even if I take a knockoff because of the grassy terrain left, or the grassy terrain recovery. So yeah, that's the idea here. I'm going to play super safe. I'm not going to let them get a knockoff potentially, and I'm not letting them get a Draining Kiss or a Nasty Plot off. So I go for my Terra Dark with my Calyx Shadow Rider. I am not taking a knockoff and going down because that would just be game losing. I do go out for the Terra Dark here, and I fake out their Calyx, which actually gives me some pretty good chip damage too. So that's pretty pleasant, as I do get the Nasty Plot. And now boosted Calyx Shadow Rider is going to be pretty pleasant as they go for a knockoff and get rid of my Life Orb, which does stink. At this point, I still think I live the Life Orb Draining Kiss, and they also got to be worried about Protect Woodhammer, because if I Protect Woodhammer their Calyx, they're actually in a really ugly spot. So here my mindset is you're most likely going to Parting Shot and you're going to swap into Clef. That's what I was thinking. Like, I felt like that made a lot of sense here, because you would slow down my Calyx a bit, or you Parting Shot out my Rilla, which also makes sense because I could protect Calyx Shadow Rider. But at the end of the day, I felt like, okay, Clef is most likely coming in because you don't want to take the Woodhammer. It's super threatening. So I felt like, okay, my best bet is to just Astral Barrage and U-turn here. Again, I think I lived a Draining Kiss. That's my assumption at the time. And I know I can get a guaranteed U-turn off the Incineroar. So I'm going to reveal to my secret weapon afterward, and that's the trap that I've sprung here. So that's the idea that I have here. And yeah, like, I'm pretty confident in just being able to set up this position, which I have, as long as, again, I don't get knocked up by the Draining Kiss this turn, which I feel like I don't. And I'm pretty sure the Calyx either Nasty Plots or decides to go for a Protect. Like, that's my assumption. We do see the hard switch out in Clef, which I'm a little bit surprised the Clef hard switch, but I guess that makes sense, because otherwise, because they went for the aggressive play of Nasty Plot, they do survive this Astral Barrage. But this works out huge in my favor because of the play that they made. Astral Barrage does a ton of damage, and I get a U-turn off into the Clef. I'm kind of surprised because I could have just Woodhammer too, and it would have been great for me. But this is perfect because I get Regieleki in, and I reveal my secret weapon, which I had for this scenario, is have a boosted Calyx Shadow Rider with Regieleki, Electro Web, Astral Barrage, and they cannot stop me because their ways of speed control were Thunder Wave on the Grimmsnarl, which Terra Dark means I'm immune to Prankster, Electric type and Regieleki. All I have to do is just hit this Electro Web into the Calyx and I win the game. There is nothing they can really do to stop that. All I have to do is just hit Electro Web and I win the game. And I thankfully do hit the Electro Web, get that speed drop, and thanks to dynamic speed, I will be able to outspeed the Calyx Shadow Rider and take the knockout into their Shadow Rider. And that means it's just Grimmsnarl and Incineroar against 4 Pokemon that I have here, and I basically am guaranteed to win this game sealed. So I was very happy because I thought about this entire plan, or this entire line that I had in game 2. It was getting Regieleki with Calyx Shadow Rider, and it worked out perfectly. Like, this game 3 adjustments like came into my head again at the end of game 2, and it just worked out flawlessly for me. So I'm very happy with how I was able to position it, and I felt like I got every call right and was able to advance and make it into day 2, as my opponent does decide to forfeit here because they can't really win here because I just switch out Eleki into Incineroar, protect the Shadow Rider, fake out Astro. Yeah, they just can't do anything. So Was very happy about that win there, because I felt like my adjustment was pretty good. And unfortunately, that was a side stream match, so not many people know about that match. But yeah, that was probably the best streams that I have played throughout the weekend, for any spoilers out there. But now we're going to move on to the mainstream sets, which were all day 2 sets. And we'll be going over those. All right, I'm not gonna go crazy, I think, in depth in this matchup, but for those of you who have seen it live, yeah, this was a rough set. So this was round 9 of the World Championship, so it's the first round of day 2. And yeah, this matchup is probably the toughest matchup I had in practice. It's the one I actually lost to the most in practice. So for those of you who don't know, I ended up playing only a few matchups specifically for this World Championship, which was this team and the Lunala Maridon stuff. And yeah, this matchup was the one I lost to the most in practice. It was probably the most difficult. Mainly what makes this difficult is the Life Orb Calyx Shadow Rider is super difficult, but also specifically there is a Raging Bolt with booster energy. With Life Orb Calyx Shadow Rider, that puts on a lot of pressure. It's kind of annoying. And then also the Ogerpon Heartflame, because Life Orb Calyx Shadow Rider plus booster energy Raging Bolt isn't like too bad if I play it correctly. But the problem is the Ogerpon Heartflame actually causes a big problem, because one, it's really good into my Volcarona, which is really generally good into like this composition of like Zamazenta Calyx Shadow Rider, Raging Bolt, and Double Balance, right? But the Ogerpon Heartflame makes it tough because I can't really water terrestrialize because of these 2 mons. I also, because of the Ivy Cudgel and the fact that I'm bringing my own son, it does a lot of damage to Volcarona. So it's not really a pleasant time here with this Ogerpon. And then generally, because I'm not running Timid Max Speed Calyx Shadow Rider anymore, like if they're running Timid Max Speed, it's really, really bad for me. I was really hoping that in this matchup that they might adjust to the Timid slow variants that like outspeed the base 135s, or maybe switch to the Moss Calyx Shadow Rider since they have priority. I was like hoping that would be the case. And if it was, then if my Calyx Shadow Rider is faster, it makes the matchup a lot more approachable for me. But with the combination of the Ogerpon Heartflame, Raging Bolt, and then Calyx Shadow Rider, it's just really difficult, I feel like, for my team, especially because I give the Ogerpon Heartflame priority, and my best mono dealing with Raging Bolt are my restricteds, but mainly it's Calyx Shadow Rider, and I had to Terra Darken this matchup because of their Calyx Shadow Rider, and because of the fact that I'm Terra Darkening my Calyx Shadow Rider, I can Terra out of my Koradon weakness for against the Raging Bolt Dragon Pulse. So it's a really difficult matchup. It's playable. I've beaten it before, but I was mostly losing in this matchup generally in a lot of cases. So yeah, that was going to be the case. And we are playing against Giuseppe, who's a really strong player from Italy, and I don't think I've ever played him before this tournament. So I was pretty curious to see how it goes, because this matchup is very read heavy. Like I have to get a lot of calls right, and I feel like the Calyx Shadow Zamazenta, since they have the double priority, has a bit more leeway in this matchup. It's winnable for me if I get the calls right, but yeah, it's really tough. Also, we were on stream and I don't remember how many Calyx Shadow Zamazentas were on the field, so I don't know if I really want to give away all the details about it, but I did want to preserve some information. But I feel like the lead I normally went in this matchup was like Koridon Regieleki straight away. But the thing that makes it difficult here is I think because of the Shadow Rider speeds, I really need the information in game 1 of like how fast is your Shadow Rider, because I need to know if it's Modest or Timid, because that's going to depend on how I play it. So game 1, I'm willing to just leave Regieleki Shadow Rider, which isn't really like the prettiest time, but yeah, like that's why I decided to go here as the lead. And as you'll see, it gets pretty tough for me matchup wise. It's already pretty bad at the start. So I lead the Regieleki Calyx, and they lead the Calyx Shadow Rider plus Incineroar for the game 1. And unfortunately, we see by as 1 for the ability, they are the faster Calyx Shadow Rider. So I already know that they're Timid max speed. I'm like, that is really bad for me because I am slower than them, and they led a lead, which isn't exactly pretty for mine, because this is a lead I would expect maybe an adjustment, but usually in game 1, I'm usually expecting like Ogerpon Heartflame lead because of the scare potentially like Regieleki plus Koridon, and then I'm able to like Electro Flare Blitz and put on a lot of pressure. But this lead is actually pretty annoying because now I have to play a mind game of like where the fake out's going on to. I'm forced, because I'm the slower Shadow Rider, to Terra Dark, which means that you could fake out either slot, and it's not pretty for me. So I need to get the call right immediately, because if I don't get the call right, it's already pretty bad here. So I need to get that call. I need to attack with Eliki if they fake out my Calyrex, and I need to protect if they decide to fake out. I know they're probably clicking Astral Barrage as well. They don't have a reason to Nasty Plot, at least against this, because you want to put everything in priority range. So I just have to get a call turn one. It's what it is. Like, there's not really much that I can do here. I decide to just protect the Eliki because I have no idea like how my opponent plays. Like, do they play aggressive or not? So I'm just hoping that like maybe a double protect is obvious and they just decide, hey, I'm going to just target the Eliki. But yeah, like there is obviously the threat of Nasty Plot, so I do have to get some momentum here regardless. And they decide to Terra Dark the Calyrex, as we both Terra Dark our Calyrex. But the problem is I do get hit by the fake out from the Incineroar on my Calyrex as I protected my Eliki. It just doesn't work out. So I just lose so much HP on the Calyrex, and the game's probably cooked because I don't have Koraidon back. I have Volcarona. And I have Volcarona plus Incineroar, because the idea behind this combination is, as much as I like the Koraidon, the problem with bringing Koraidon is if I bring Koraidon into this match, it's a little bit weird to deal with the Raging Bolt still because of all the things I mentioned before. Because I usually take a lot of damage on Shadow Rider. I'm usually in Thunderclap range. And then like Koraidon can't beat the Raging Bolt that hasn't taken any damage. That's the problem. Like, I can't damage it with my Eliki. I can maybe knock off a Parting Shot with my my Incineroar, but it doesn't do too much damage. And yeah, like the why I bring Volcarona is I found it more consistent into the Raging Bolts, because if I set up Quiver Dances, like it can reverse sweep, especially if they like bring the Zamazenta mode. So yeah, that's why I decided to go with Volcarona in these games. But yeah, like I'm just in a really bad spot right now. There isn't really much I can do here. Yeah, it's looking pretty rough. I know that if I can beat the Calyrex Shadow Rider, like it depends on what they have in the back. Like I'm expecting Ogerpon Heartflame plus the Heartflame plus the Raging Bolt back. So I'm like, okay, maybe if I can get Volcarona in somehow and get Quiver Dances up after pressuring their Shadow Rider, like maybe I have a chance. Like that's basically what I have to go for, because I'm already so far down behind. I think I just attack aggressively to get some chip damage into their Shadow Rider, but I'm also covering a potential like, oh, are they going to protect? That's also another play. So I Volt Switch the Instant. I need the damage on Instant anyway because it's hard to get rid of it with my Volcarona, and I go into my own Incineroar, and setting up with my Incineroar is just helpful against the Ogerpon Heartflame IV Cudgel damage, which was also something that I wanted to have. So they go for Astral Barrage, get a bunch of chip damage into me, and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty bad. And they Parting Shot here afterward after I get the Astral Barrage, and I do some damage, but it's not like crazy damage. They Parting Shot my Calyrex, they bring out Raging Bolt, and it's like, okay, not a great spot. I'm gonna fake out the Calyrex and just Astral Barrage at this point, because like Double Protect is a bit obvious, but there's a chance I Nasty Plot. But even then, at least the benefit part is I most likely have put their Calyrex Shadow Rider into range of T-Bolt from Eliki, which is like the one big thing that I have here. So I do have some options. So I do go for a fake out here, and I do go for the Astral Barrage into the team. And I'm thinking like my best odds here of setting up my Volcarona is by getting in Eliki and Volcarona at the same time to fire off Electro Web into Quiver Dance, or just Thunderbolt Quiver Dance. So that's the idea here. So I'm just going to try to sack both of these Pokemon to get in Eliki and hopefully reposition correctly. So that's the idea here. And Giuseppe decides to go for a double protect here, and I think that makes sense. I think he was just scouting for my protect from the Calyrex, because he was like, okay, maybe you try to sack Instant, protect Calyrex Shadow Rider to bring in the Eliki, so then you can Thunderbolt. But I was like, okay, like does that get me much because of the Thunderclap mind game? I think it doesn't, so that's why I'm like willing to sack both here. That was the idea. So I went for Parting Shot, and I don't think I protected here. I'm pretty sure I just went for the Astral. Yeah, I did just go for the Astral. I was okay with losing again both the Calyrex plus the Instant, because the idea was to get the free switch to Volcarona plus Regieleki and threaten the chip damage. So now I can go for like a KO in the Calyrex and go for Quiver Dance. I think I went for Thunderbolt if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I went for Electro Web. But oh no, I protected the Eliki because I was scouting for the protect from Calyx Shadow Rider. Right. So I felt like my hope was like, okay, one of their best moves to hit my Volcarona was Astral Barrage. I thought they would protect the Calyx and Dragon Pulse the Eliki so they can then Thunderclap my Eliki and then Astral, but they don't know my speeds down Volcarona. So I end up taking a lot of damage and then I just get a bad call. And yeah, like again, a lot of bad calls for me, but like at this point, it's like I thought the game was probably over anyway. Again, I was thinking like, okay, they Dragon Pulse protect to avoid the Thunderbolt and then I Thunderclap. And then that was like the idea there. Like I thought that's what they were going to try to go for. But since they didn't know my Volcarona spread, I think the play makes sense to just go for the Astral Barrage and just the T-Bolt. But yeah, like if I did go for like an Electro Web plus a Quiver Dance, it would have been better. I still don't even know if I'd be able to win the end game realistically because I need a lot of luck against the what's it called? I still need a lot of luck against the Ogerpon Heartflame. I do live Ivy Cudgel since they can't terrestrialize, but after taking like a T-Bolt, like it would still hurt. Like I'm recovering with leftovers, but it's still very tricky. But I think it would have been possible. I think if I Electro Quiver Dance, I probably had a chance. So I was happy to at least have a chance to win. But unfortunately, the calls that I'm making are just not working out here. So yeah, like again, this is a very read heavy matchup. There's not much that I can do. I don't have as many like tools that are just really good against the combination of fast Shadow Rider plus the boost energy raging bolt that just like patches it because it's like hard to get rid of. And yeah, this game too, it does not go great for me. So I decided to lead Instant plus the Calyx Shadow Rider this time and have the Reggie Eliki in the back. And it's kind of annoying because yeah, at least I have the faster Incineroar off the bat, but yeah, there's not much to say here. I'm just hoping at this point we're trading fake outs and then I could maybe get like a good Astral Barrage damage off later to put in range of Thunderbolt and then set up my Volcarona in the end game. Like that's the idea here, what I'm trying to accomplish, because I think it's like the best plan. I'm not bringing Koraidon on this matchup because of what I mentioned before, which is the Raging Bolt's still like super big problematic wise. I do go for the Terra Dark. They go for a crazy play, by the way. They go for a Helping Hand non-Terra. And I almost debated about clicking just Astral Barrage immediately, but they got me here. Like, they got me. It's an insane play, but it works out really well for them. Because I think if I go for Astral Barrage, I'm in a really, really good spot. But they go for the Astral Barrage. They do a ton of damage, and I nasty plot. And yeah, the position is just not good. The position is just not good. So I think I go for Protect Parting now. Yeah, I go for Protect Parting because I know my Instant can live the next Helping Hand Astral Barrage, which I know they're spamming. And then I Parting Shot their Instant in case they decide to protect. And I go out into Reggie Eliki. And now I can threaten maybe like T-Bolt or Volt Switch plus the Astral Barrage. So there's like a few things I can do. But yeah, it's just not super pleasant. I do get the read right on them protecting the Calyx this turn. And I do get an Astral Barrage off. Granted, it's not like the craziest positioning still for me because it's still really tough, but at least it's something, right? As they go for a Parting Shot into my Calyx, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then they bring out the, I think, Raging Bolt. Yeah, they go into Raging Bolt. And here, okay. So this position is not that bad, but it depends on the EV spread here on the Raging Bolt. So I have seen my Shadow Rider live the Thunderclaps before at the range I'm at. I'm like at 87, I think, on the Calyx at this point. And it depends because a lot of the practice games that I had a bulky Raging Bolt with like modest 180 special attack investment. And I feel like that's pretty common. So I've seen my Calyx live that. And if my Calyx lives that and gets the Astral Barrage off here, it's huge. And I mean huge. Because if I get the damage in a Raging Bolt and all this damage in the Calyx plus the Electro Web speed drop, Volcarona is actually looking pretty good. So that is my idea here, and I am willing to just risk it here. So because I've seen my Calyx live these before, I'm like, okay, I will risk it and see how it goes, because it is a range, I think, around that area. But yeah, it's just, of course, a bit of a call. I do protect my Calyx because I think first I want the damage into the Eliki. Or yeah, I get the damage into the Shadow Rider first. I go for Volt Switch and I sack my Instant because then I can go for a Reggie Eliki, bring back in Thunderbolt the Calyx Shadow. Then I could get a single target Astral Barrage off into the Raging Bolt potentially, and that will KO the Raging Bolt, and I can set up for a nice double KO because I don't need Instant really anymore. Sure, it could be nice to intimidate an Ogre Palm, but I think it would still be okay or acceptable as long as I still have Regieleki plus Volcarona back. So yeah, that was the idea here. As a Astral Barrage KO the Instant, it doesn't really matter for me at this point. All I really need is that Astral Barrage to KO the Raging Bolt, and then Thunderbolt also into the Calyrex, and then I could T-Bolt the Instant, and then I'll live a Ivy Cudgel from the Ogerpon, and then I'd be able to get potentially 2 Fiery Dances plus like T-Bolts or Electro Web. So that's like the idea here, what I'm trying to build towards. So yeah, like I go for Thunderbolt and I go for Astral. And because they switch into Ogerpon, I think if I live the Thunderclap, I guarantee to win, right? So they go into Ogerpon Heartflame, and I'm like, okay, if I live the Thunderclap, I should win the game for sure, because then they can't beat Instant plus, or they can't beat the Volcarona plus the Shatter, or Volcarona plus the Regieleki. Unfortunately, the Thunderclap just KOs my Calyrex Shatter. They run max modest special attack Raging Bolt, I'm pretty sure, and they run or maybe it was just a high roll on the 180. That's what I thought at the time, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's over. I know they run max speed on this Raging Bolt. I know they run modest max speed. I don't remember how much special attack investment they had, but like I wouldn't be surprised if it's max, because I was talking about Marco. I kind of forgot about it, but yeah, like the Raging Bolt just KOs. I think I needed a bit more HP. I think I was messing up my numbers between 87 and 97. So yeah, because I don't live, I just lose the game, but there wasn't really much I could do afterward anyway. Like maybe I could have set up for a Volcarona Quiver Dance, but even then, like, it's still pretty rough. Like at some point I'm gonna have to take the Thunderclap anyway, and there's not really any way I can stop that because I don't have redirection in my team. So yeah, I just lose the game here because there's not much. And they do reveal that they are modest on their Raging Bolt, because they do outspeed my Volcarona and take the KO, which I was kind of surprised by, but that was good information to note. And luckily it wasn't an elimination match, it was just a Swiss round, and I still had one more Swiss round to potentially make it into the top cut for this World Championship. So I don't think I played the best here. I think Giuseppe played amazing, but I do not think I played the best, at least with the hard calls. Like the hard calls, it was just like I had to get something. But yeah, I don't think a lot of my calls really worked out. So but it was a good set overall. Like unfortunately, I knew that I would have to play this matchup, and yeah, like Giuseppe played well, absolutely what needed to do, got the aggressive plays right, and I just wasn't able to really position. I don't know what I would really do. I think because it's max speed Raging Bolt, I might bring Koraidon, since it's a frail Raging Bolt. It's probably better to bring Koraidon, because Woodhammer plus Collision Course might knock out the Raging Bolt potentially, which actually gives me, I think, better chances. So I think if I was to replay this one, like that's probably the adjustment here. This was the combination that won me the more games in the practice. I also was usually dealing with Zamazenta too, and again Volcarona, you was usually able to get Quiver Dances potentially if I stood up in the right spot. But yeah, like unfortunately it didn't really showcase like how well I think the team could have done for the main stage. But yeah, that was how the match went. And then we can move on to the next round, which we'll move on here. All right, so I want to give a bit of context here, because we finished round 10. I was able to beat Z for the winning in, and then top cut gets posted, and then I get a bye. Victor also gets a bye, so we're both in top 16 automatically. And I thought, okay, chill, I get to practice a bit of this matchup, because even though I played some Smeargle teams, I don't know the Smeargle balance version of this, so I have to really craft a little bit. So I call my good buddy Emilio Forbes and ask him for some prep, and we're about to head off. And then like 2 minutes later, he gets a call. Apparently they're looking for me for the stage, and apparently me and Victor are going immediately onto stream, even though like they're still playing like the top 32 part of the tournament, where me and Victor again have automatically buys into top 16. So I was going to prep this matchup a bit, and we were discussing like a bit, but like yeah, apparently we are just going straight into the match, which I was not happy about, but you know, what can you do? Like Showtime calls. So we have the matchup here. It's Calyrex Shatter, Zamazenta, and Incineroar Smeargle, Raging Bolt Rillaboom. And basically the conclusion that me and Emilio had was like, we think that it's going to be Shadow Rider Smeargle lead, and then Zamazenta plus Raging Bolt back, because double wide guard, because the Smeargle's wide guard, not decorate. I've only practiced against the decorate versions. Because it's wide guard, it changes like a lot of the matchup, because I can't touch the Calyx Shadow Rider if they go for Terra Dark next to wide guard, and because they have 2 wide guard mons, it makes it extremely tough to actually break through the Shadow Rider. And also that means that my biggest mode of just Electroweb in general is kind of pointless here. On the bright side, I know that Victor at least has a modest Calyx Shadow Rider, so at least that works out for me, because I'll at least have the faster Shadow Rider in this matchup. That gives me some hope here. But overall, this matchup's super tough. Me and Emilio basically conclude on those 4. Like, we thought like Incineroar could come in, but like I felt in general like the Zamazenta would give me more difficult of a time. That's at least what I thought. If it was Incineroar, like, it's actually a bit more playable. But yeah, like in general, that's like what our expectations were. And yeah, that's all we really got. Like, the idea was to lead Calyx Shadow Rillaboom. We were gonna plan out the lines, and then we got called. So yeah, my plan was always bring Calyx Shadow plus Rillaboom lead, because it threatens the Smeargle for the most part. And then in the back, the idea that I had was just Regieleki plus the Koraidon here. And yeah, that was pretty much what I needed, because at least with Koraidon Flame Charge, I can maybe position something against this Calyx Shadow Rider. And I don't at least have to worry. Like, Smeargle is annoying, especially with the wide guard, but at least it's not like Ogerpon Heartflame, where I have to worry about like the priority Grassy Glide that I'm giving it, as well as some other factors. So I'm like okay with bringing Rilla here as an adjustment. It also is pretty good into the Smeargle. And yeah, like unlike the previous match, like I feel like it's a bit more playable with grassy terrain, because then even if I take damage from the Astral Barrage from their Shadow Rider, at least the grassy terrain can heal me back to potentially the range I live Thunderclap. And I did my calcs against the Thunderclap after, so I was like, okay, I know what numbers I need to reach in order to survive the Thunderclap. So that was the idea of the matchup. Let us get into the game here, as I lead Calyx Shadow Rillaboom, they lead Calyx Shadow Rider Smeargle, and pretty much just turn 1, I think I decide, hey, I'm just gonna go for a fake out in Psychic, because they're most likely just gonna fake out my Rillaboom, and they're gonna go for a probably just fake out into my Rillaboom. That's all I basically think. Like, they just nasty plot, they fake out my Rillaboom, they're probably in like a pretty solid spot. There's not really much I can do to punish it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna go for Psychic and set up for a situation, because if I can get rid of one of the wide guard mons, it's pretty important. Like, just reducing the resources they have next to Calyx Shadow Rider is pretty much what I need here. So we are both going to Terra Dark here because of the Astral Barrage threat, and in general, like, that is fine, as the fake out does come out into the Rillaboom, and a Psychic does go out into the Smeargle, bring it down to Sash, and then the Calyx Shadow goes for Nasty Plot. So a lot of this is basically what it's going down to, because this turn 2, like I had set up, was I was going to Psychic the Smeargle and then go for a Woodhammer into the Calyx, and because I go for that, if I get a Woodhammer off in the Calyx, it does so much damage to where I feel like it just puts in Eleki Electroweb range or Thunderbolt range, and then I'm in a pretty good spot against the Calyx Shadow in general. So that's like the idea here of what I'm trying to accomplish, especially because I'll live the Astral Barrage on from their Calyx Shadow, then they'll be in range of my Astral Barrage. I'll outspeed. So that is why I decide, hey, that is why the line I'm taking is going to be like this. Then we have the Smeargle that goes for the first Moody, the speed, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is bad. Like, if that's Zamazenta plus the Raging Bolt back, I'm like, that is actually horrendous for me, because now I can't go for the Psychic Woodhammer play, because now they have to dread a potential Spore. So I do have the Grassy Glide pressure, but I think that they are probably going to either click follow me, or they're going to click Spore attempt here. And I think my best play here is to reposition my Calyx Shadow Rider and go for a U-turn into the Smeargle. The reason I decide that's probably my best play here is because I cannot risk the Spore, And even if I like Grassy Glide plus like Astral Barrage or Nasty Plot, it doesn't really get me too much here. So they retreat to Smeargle, so the Moody doesn't matter, but I didn't know that at the time. And again, I could have made a potential more aggressive play, but Incineroar does come in, gets the Intimidate off, and I'm like, okay. Still not great, but I can play out of this potentially. I do protect my Shadow Rider here as they go for a Astral Barrage, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And it's like, okay, the position's fine, but it's like not the best. I know I can live the Astral Barrage. I get a U-turn off. I target the Smeargle slot, of course. If I target the Shadow Rider, it would have been actually pretty nice because it might have been able to get him into Thunderbolt range potentially, or Thunderbolt Astral Barrage. I pretty much am forced to go Regieleki here, and I do have to play a mind game of whether they just fake out this turn or they go out in a Smeargle and go for like a double here. So I'm kind of curious because Incineroar could go out in a Smeargle, reading my double protect, and then they have fake out pressure again. So I'm trying to debate on like what the best line is here. I'm pretty sure that I just go for the double protects, or no, the Calyx switches out into Rillaboom because I don't have to play the super big mind game here as I protect my Regieleki. Yeah, I protect my Regieleki. I don't really need Rillaboom around too much, so this is fine if I lose it. So they fake out, they go for Astral Barrage. I'm like, okay, this still gets me an okay spot. Like I can play out of this. So they take the KO on Rillaboom. I don't need my Rillaboom. And then I get to bring out my Shadow Rider or Koraidon. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get in my Koraidon here because now I threaten the Electroweb plus the Collision Course. So I don't know how aggressive Victor wants to play this. So I have Electro Collision Course in either slot and I can take a knockout, which is pretty big. Unfortunately for me, I kind of forgot. I mentioned this before, but the Smeargle has Wide Guard. I kind of forget this fact in the middle of it because, again, I'm used to facing the Decorate Smeargles. I'm not like too invested on the team sheet, but I do go for a Electroweb plus Collision Course. Also, Victor, please stop doing that on stream. It's always bad for the eyes. But Electroweb comes out into the Calyx that just protected, and Incineroar dodges. That's not like super big deal as Collision Course goes into the Shadow Rider, and then they get Punish off and Eleki into the Smeargle, and now they have access to Wide Guard. I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot about the Wide Guard. That means I can't go for the Electroweb play. So if I wanted to do something, I probably had to go for Collision Course into the Incineroar first, or I had to Flame Charge the Incineroar. Like either of those plays worked. Now I'm just guaranteed to lose the game because the Wide Guard just prevents the Electroweb, and I didn't get like the Flame Charge boost. If I got the Flame Charge boost, or if I got the KO on the Incin, both would have been acceptable. But now it's just like, okay, this is really bad. There is not much that I can really do here to stop them. So I go for double protect on the fake out, which I do get. But at this point, it's like, okay, they Wide Guard here, and there's not really much I can do, right? Like, I'm hoping that I can maybe catch a mess up. I go Calyx because I can't lose Koraidon. It's the only way I can touch the Shadow Rider on their side for a lot of damage as I go for a Thunderbolt KO into Smeargle. I at least live the Astral Barrages here, but at this point, I like guarantee lose to the Thunderclap. So yeah, there's not really much I can do. I kind of realized my mistake earlier in the match. I had to position my Koraidon better, and unfortunately it just did not work out. So I lose the game one here. There's not much I can do. I'm just getting attacked by Thunderclap and Astrals, and there's not really anything I can do about it. So that's game one. So felt like it was okay for the most part, but the big one was the forgetting the Wide Guard and the Smeargle in the middle of the game, and not positioning again, maybe not capitalizing on me KOing the Instant or getting the Flame Charge. I think Flame Charge might have been better, but it was still kind of rough because the fact that Koraidon outspeeds Regieleki after Flame Charge, so I can't knock out the Smeargle with Regieleki and then get a Collision Course off into the Calyx, which makes it really weird to position. So it's still not like super easy. I think Collision Course is the better line, but that does allow like some weird lines, I think, with the Shadow Rider, like playing around it. So yeah, I think it's just super difficult overall, but I do think that there was something that I could have done there differently. But we move on to game two. I'm still going to go with the same plan, and it's not looking great because they switched up into Instant, but I don't think this is too bad straight up the start. I had the faster fake out, so that's at least one benefit in mind. So we're going to trade the Terra Darks again. Not too surprising, as it is probably the best option. I go for a nasty plot, and I think I decide to just U-turn the Calyrex here for some damage, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to get an Eliki, have the boost Calyrex, then go for the Astrals, and then that's like my idea here. So I go for the U-turn into the Calyrex, because if they decide, hey, I'm going to fake out the Calyrex and go for a nasty plot, I at least get the U-turn damage, get an Eliki, and then Thunderbolt Astral could potentially just KO the Calyrex on their side. Like, that's why I decided to go for U-turn over like just a trade a fake out moment. If I just went for fake out, it actually would have been pretty ideal, but that was fine. Although the knockoff crit was pretty bad for me, because the knockoff crit, every bit of HP matters on the Calyrex Shadow Rider because of the Raging Bolt endgame. Because of the knockoff crit, it's going to be harder to deal with the Raging Bolt now. So I'm like, that's not great. Like, that's really not great. And now it's looking pretty bad, because I do go for a safe Thunderbolt Astral Barrage because they don't have the best punish, but they make a great play. They go hard into Smeargle, which means I don't get the Thunderbolt and I don't get the Astral off. So really good play by Victor's end, and now I'm like in a pretty tough spot. And now I think my instincts start kicking in. My battle instinct, my battle gut, like there was something it was screaming to me about. And I decide to listen to my gut because I'm already super down at this point. And like here for Victor, you have a very safe play of going for fake out, right? You can fake out, you can Astral. There's not really much I could do to punish it, right? And for some reason, my gut is telling me they're going to click wide guard. I don't know why it was screaming click wide guard, because I guess like it was the Electro Web and the Astral Barrage strat that I could go for. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to play aggressive, because there's also the chance they double out the Smeargle and the Instant so they can threaten the fake out after stalling out a double protect. So like my idea was, you know what? I will play aggressive. We'll see how this goes. I'm willing to go for Thunderbolt, and I'm willing to go for Psychic, and we'll see how it goes. And he does click wide guard. I don't know. My instinct just kicked in. Sometimes it does that. Thunderbolt comes out into the Shadow Rider, and I get a Psychic off into Smeargle, and now I'm actually back in the game because I've gotten some very massive damage on their side. They do get like good damage on my side because of the Astro, but the fact that I have faster mons and the fact that I'm living is so huge for me. So here I'm like, wait, this is playable. I just gotta get another read right of, do they wide guard or do they click follow me? Because I could Thunderbolt the Calyrex Shadow Rider, but they could follow me, and then that prevents it. And then I could go for Astral, but are they going to read that and then just go for the wide guard here and expect me to like not Thunderbolt the Calyrex? So there's like a few mind games here, and I'm like, okay. For me, it was like, okay, I'm Thunderbolting Astral Barraging because there's something telling me that you're not going for wide guard. I let my instincts just take over me, because at this point, there's not really much I can do at this. Incineroar comes in, and I'm like, this is perfect. If they protect, it's super passive, and it works out for me, and they do protect. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting these plays right, yet the Raging Bolt is still scary in the back, but it is 100% playable at this point. As I do go for another Thunderbolt Astral Barrage, I catch the instant, and you know what? We're in the game. We are somehow in the game. As I get huge damage to Instant, which is great for Rillaboom. I'm still healthy on Rillaboom. Their Pokemon are super low in Grassy Glide range. Fantastic. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing it again. I'm clicking Thunderbolt, I'm clicking Astral. I could double protect, but I'm not letting you ever get a chance to double in Smeargle. And you can't really get like a fake out plus double KO here, right? Because if you fake out Eliki, I get an Astral Barrage knockout. If you decide to fake out the Calyrex, you don't even get to knock on the Calyrex, and I get a T-Bow KO. So that's why I decided to go for. Victor makes another smart play going into Smeargle for the Calyrex, because now he has Smeargle next to Raging Bolt, which is a little bit hard to pressure from my side. But I mean, it's still not like great for me, but it's doable. It's doable. It also helps that they knocked off my Calyrex, because that Life Orb shit would have added up over time. Grassy Terrain disappears. I know that I can maybe reset for getting in my Rillaboom at this point, because Rillaboom's super healthy. Grassy Glide is pretty free into the Smeargle slot, and yeah, like I have to play mind games against this Raging Bolt, and what do you do? Like Rillaboom's actually still scary. I still Karai on the back, so it's very doable here, but I gotta call this what the Raging Bolt does. Here I think Protect is so obvious from the Calyrex that I decide you're either gonna Thunderclap or you're gonna Dragon Pulse my Rillaboom. I was like, okay, I don't want to protect this turn because I want to protect online for the next turn. I'm just going to go for a Grassy Glide and a Nasty Plot, because I'm hoping to either Thunderclap my Calyrex, are they Dragon Pulse my Rillaboom? Because they do need to get rid of Rillaboom eventually. It's hard for them to remove currently on the field, and it's threatening some pretty big knockouts. So I am able to get another Nasty Plot. I could have just KO'd the Raging Bolt realistically and won the game, but not worth the risk. Here, I'm still trying to build up towards HP to survive the Thunderclap. And even if they Dragon Pulse to Rillaboom, I'm not in range of Thunderclap unless they crit. And, you know, I can't really play around crits at this point. So all I have to do is just go for Protect with Calyrex, and then I'll go for a Grassy Glide. And then I think the next turn is really going to be the game deciding factor. So I do protect my Calyrex here. And just Grassy Glide the Smeargle as a Thunderclap. So I do get it right. Like, I also debated about Nasty Plotting again, but I think that might have been too much. I really thought it might have been too much, but I think looking back, I probably should have. I really think I should have. Because now they go Calyrex, and I'm like, okay, I get a Grassy Glide. They can protect. It's still a Raging Bolt versus Calyrex mind game of do they Thunderclap, or are we seeing a Thunderbolt Dragon Pulse? So I'm like, okay. I don't really want to go for the double because I'll probably need to protect the next turn. Like, I need 2 more turns of grassy terrain in order to survive the Thunderclap. So I'm just gonna go for Nasty Plot again. Like, instincts are kicking in, and I'm like, okay, I'm just letting it take over. I'm letting my primal instincts just take over as they Thunderclap, and I'm like, okay, I think after this should guarantee to win, assuming I don't get crit, because I'm looking at the HP I'm recovering. I'm like, I'm pretty sure after the next turn of grassy terrain, I always survive the Thunderclap. So all I have to do is protect here and Grassy Glide the Calyrex. And even if Calyrex gets a double protect, that's fine. It's annoying, but it's fine. As long as I am able to, again, live the Thunderclap, and I double check the range. I'm making sure that if this is modest max special attack Raging Bolt, because I also checked that calc out, I'm making sure I live the Thunderclap at the range I'm at. And because I have the faster shatter, all I have to do is Astral Barrage, and that will seal it here. So this turn, in case Thunderclap does KO, I do decide to go for a U-turn. So I threaten the Woodhammer Collision Course into Grassy Glide the following turns. And yeah, like, I U-turn and Astral Barrage. Thunderclap comes out. I do survive with the Calyrex, and I am able to get an Astral Barrage. And I'm kind of in disbelief at this point because I'm like, wow, I actually somehow made it through. I was like, when they got into Smeargle for free, I was like, this game is not looking good, but thankfully, some primal instincts kicked in. Like, your boy still got something at least. But yeah, that was game 2. And I'm like, okay, it's doable. I didn't even have to use Koraidon, thankfully, but man, this is still a really tough matchup regardless. And yeah, we're gonna go into game 3. It's not really too much of an adjustment. There's not really much of plans that I can have that can really change here. We decide to go with the game 1s, and I'm like, okay, I probably wasn't thinking this. I feel like I start tunnel visioning a bit, because here I think Victor makes a really safe and I think obvious play that I can't really punish. But I fall for this trap of trying to KO the Smeargle because he saw that I was willing to Psychic the Smeargle immediately and fake out. And he makes a really good instant play. I'm like, oh, that's just like day 1 landing. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I fell for this bait. I really cannot believe I fell for this bait. So it goes for the Terra Dark, and I decide, hey, I'm just going to go for Grassy Glide and Psychic. I actually make an aggressive play and don't Terra because I was like, you have always clicked Nasty Plots, so it's like I make an aggressive play and it's like you're very less likely to Astral Barrage here. I'm like, okay, this is bad. Like, I know I can play out of this, but this is really bad. I think the play I decide to make here is I switch out to Shadow, go Regieleki, because I know that the fake out is going to come on the Rillaboom and they're going to go for Astral Barrage to take the KO. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because I have Sash on the Regieleki, so I'll survive the Astral Barrage, and I need Regieleki next to Koraidon to deal with this Calyrex right now, because otherwise it's going to snowball through my team and I can't really do anything about it. So I bring out the Regieleki immediately, because if I protect Calyrex, then it's Calyrex next to something on the board, and like that doesn't help me against this Shadow Rider currently, because this Shadow is a threat. As thankfully gets the Astral Barrage KO on the Rillaboom. If that Astral Barrage didn't KO, I just instant lose on the spot here. Or I might not instant lose in the spot, but it's like really awful. Like, that position's really awful. So very happy that happens. Now I have to play another mind game, which is going to Koraidon. I'm forced to go Koraidon. And then it's kind of like a similar repeat of like what happened in game 1, where I had to make a read here. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to expect? Are they going to knock off here my Eleki? Are they going to Parting Shot? Are they going to hard switch to Smeargle? And I'm like pretty confident that Calyx protects this turn because they're up so far ahead and like it's a useful mon here, and they don't want to take the Electro Web collision course because if I get them on the Electro Web collision course, I think they lose the game instantly. So like I'm pretty confident at this point of being able to target down the Incin or potential or cover for a Smeargle switch by going for did I Thunderbolt or did I go for Flame Charge? I might have Thunderbolted in case, but I wouldn't be surprised if I did. Yeah, I did Thunderbolt because I was hard raining Smeargle because I was like Thunderbolt Flame Charge just in case. It also did the most damage to Incin if they decide to party shot. So I do get like some decent damage, and then I get the speed boost, which now we're gonna get into the turn which players have been asking me for quite a bit. So as you can see, Victor is just gonna Astral Barrage and Dragon Pulse. I had a way different idea in mind here. So you might be thinking like, what is this play that you just went for, James? Why did you just protect the Koraidon? So my thought process here is because I know my Koraidon spread basically, and my Koraidon spread is if I Terra Fire, and because Grassy Terrain is up, I can live Dragon Pulse, and then after Grassy Terrain, live Thunderclap most of the time. So that is something that I was like, okay, if that's the case, they probably need Shadow Rider in order to do some massive damage. So I felt like, okay, there's also like their Shadow Rider in the back, my Shadow Rider in the back, and I feel like they have to respect it. So I felt like maybe they switch out to the Shadow Rider, preserve it, because if they don't preserve Shadow Rider, I feel like it can get a little bit ugly for them. And I felt like, okay, maybe they reposition the Shadow Rider, either sack Incineroar at this point or bring in the Smeargle afterward, because I don't have a way to knock out the Raging Bolt. I don't think Thunderbolt into Collision Course knocks out the Raging Bolt in this position, and I felt like the Collision Course was a bit obvious into Shadow Rider, right? So I thought the two plays that they would make is switch out Calyx Shadow Rider into one of Incin Smeargle and either just Dragon Pulse with the Raging Bolt, or they go for a protective Raging Bolt so they could reposition like a Fake Out Mon next to Raging Bolt and start chipping away the Koraidon to remove it, and then have endgame Shadow Rider clean up. So that was like my thought process. The reason I decided to protect Koraidon is it covers for the Dragon Pulse from their Raging Bolt, and I decided to Volt Switch into the Calyx, because if I Volt Switch into Smeargle, I break the Sash and I bring out my Shadow Rider, and my Shadow Rider can then pressure the Raging Bolt, because I was like, okay, if I'm hard committing on the Shadow Rider not getting an Astral Barrage off, it's better to get my Shadow Rider in to actually threaten the Raging Bolt at the same time. And yeah, like that was the idea here. So that was my plan here, because I was going to threaten him with double restricted against like a Raging Bolt plus like support mon plan, and then I felt like, okay, it's probably pretty doable. Unfortunately for me, me and Victor had different ideas. I talked to Victor after the set, and he felt like he was just going to be able to win with Dragon Pulse even if I Terra Fire. So he felt like Dragon Pulse and the Thunderclap would be able to KO the Koraidon. But yeah, like I never really revealed any info about my spread on Koraidon, so that makes sense. And unfortunately for me, the knowledge that I have bulky Koraidon just ends up hurting me, because I could have just went for Terra Fire, Collision Course, knock out the Calyx, and then I think I'm in a really good spot, because if I live Dragon Pulse into Thunderclap with the Grassy Terrain healing, their only moves, like Koraidon and Shadow Rider, outspeed their entire field. They have Fake Out, but it doesn't really help out too much if I just protect. And then I feel like I'm in a really good spot for the most part, because then I could just go for Collision Course plus Astral Barrage, outspeed their team and get the KOs. So that was like the reason I decided to do this. Instead, this ends up being the worst possible turn, and then Calyx Shadow Rider comes in. So Astral Barrage gets my Shadow Rider, the game's over. Like I cannot win. I cannot beat the Raging Bolt unless I get a Collision Course crit, but I need to also KO the Shadow Rider in time. So I go for Terra Electric T-Bolt as a last ditch effort, because like my hope here is that he messes up, loses a Shadow Rider here to a Terra Electric T-Bolt, and then Collision Course crits the Raging Bolt. Like that's my only hope here. He double protects the stall out Sun, and at this point it's like looking pretty bad. There's not like much I can do here, and yeah, like I gotta protect Collision Course off, but at the same time it's not really like possible for me to win at this point. So yeah, because they have the Smeargle in, I can't really do anything. I also can't Terra Fire anymore to survive. Like it's just over game at this point. There's not much I can do here. I think I tried to fish for like potential mistakes, but because the sun is out, like there's really not anything I can do. The follow me comes out. I mean, I do get a collision course plus a electro web off, but there's really not anything that I can do. I just want to see how much the Terra Electric does to Incin, just to figure it out. But like at this point, like I do protect on the fake out, but I'm not gonna like stall it out crazy. I just want to see the T-bolt damage, just like all I want to see. But yeah, like unfortunately it was just the turn did not work out. Like the game really just came down to the Calyx turn with the Regieleki, and it did not work out. Again, I made a hard commitment, and do I stand by it? I would probably make the same play even if that's the case. I don't think it was a bad play. Obviously it looks bad in the context without like any info, but I don't think it was a bad play on my part. I really don't. Like again, if I'm reading that they're going to preserve the Calyx Shadow Rider, I think the Eleki volt switching makes sense. But of course, like that is kind of the thing about Pokemon. It's an imperfect knowledge game, and of course it's two players, and they all each have their own different decisions on like the win cons. And since Victor thought like Dragon Pulse and the Thunderclap was most likely his best path to victory, and that he didn't need the Shadow Rider, like it differed from my thinking of like he needed the Shadow Rider and you know was going to try to preserve it. So yeah, like that's just the game, how it goes sometimes, and unfortunately it did not work out for me. I wasn't able to call my opponent on a switch and ended up losing because of that hard read. But you know what, I do not regret the hard read at all, and I thought Victor played really well. I'm just upset, like the only play that I really regret is the turn one. The turn one of this game was the only one, because I felt like that was a day one classic, and I just felt like I got I just can't believe I fell for it. Like I cannot believe I got bamboozled by it, and that was the only one where I'm like, okay, that is a play that I should have been able to call. The rest, I felt like I was okay with like how it played out, but really great set to Victor. And yeah, unfortunately I wasn't able to show the team how well it did on the mainstream, but across the board, I do think that I was playing poor in day two. I do think that Giuseppe and Victor played extremely well, so I wouldn't discredit them at all. They played amazingly throughout the tournament and deserved a really high placements. I was just upset because I felt like the quality of my reads just really deteriorated from the day one that I had, because the day one I had was incredible. Like the day one I was getting so many of these reads right, but unfortunately day two, even my winning in versus Z, I didn't feel like I was playing like super great. So that just happens in tournaments sometimes, and I don't think I really played the best again in the stream matches. I think there were definitely some, again, it's a lot of hard call outs, and that's kind of like how the matchup goes sometimes, because this matchup, like the Kakashara Zama, is very read heavy. But at the same time, like I felt like some of the reads that I had were just like poor decisions overall. But that's just how it goes in Pokemon sometimes. I hope that you learned something from my analysis. I hope that explained things. If you're watching this and you've watched my stream, or you watched the stream sets before, hopefully you give some context on like my thought process throughout the matches. And yeah, I hope you have learned like why I decided to make the plays, and hopefully it makes sense of like why I decided to make the plays that I did, right? So that is basically the goal. I'm happy with my top 16. I just wish I was able to play better in day two in general, because I really would have liked not only to continue, because obviously like doing well at Worlds, like doing even better at Worlds, of course, but I just wanted to play more high level matches. If I was able to beat Victor, I was able to play against Hirofumi, and I would have loved a chance to play Hirofumi because I've never played him in tournament. I'm really happy that I had a fun encounter as well. Like I played some really strong players for the first time with Victor and Giuseppe in day two, and I wish I had a better showcasing, but they played extremely well. They got a lot of calls right and played extremely well throughout the tournament. And yeah, unfortunately I wasn't just able to master their caliber in this day two, but hope everyone enjoyed. And if you want to see more of this kind of content where I react to like my own tournament matches, again, leave a comment down below. I hope this helps out. Make sure again, if you haven't checked out the team builder and like my main channel content, make sure you go check it out, and I'll be reacting to more VGC sets in the future. So let me know which kind of VGC sets that you would like to see me analyze. But that is going to be it for today. Have a great one, and of course subscribe to the channel and my main channel for more VGC content as always.